the end. So please feel free to put in any questions as you go along. So just a little bit about myself. I am basically have been in the business for about 30 or more years. And when I say that, I mean the complementary therapy part of life. More recently, in the last decade and a half, I've been concentrating on kinesiology, and I've found that when I moved into the area of kinesiology, it truly changed my life, my whole professional life, and my whole personal life. So throughout my life, I've tried a lot of different types of complementary therapies, and I found that kinesiology brought it all together for me, and it is a very effective way of working with people. It's also now being found to be quite accepted nationally, and the reason for this is because there has been a lot of research over the years, and a lot of scientific proof has come out of that research. And sorry, I'm just going to turn off my webcam. Evidently it's a little bit sluggish, so I will just put on my PowerPoint so that you can see that. Okay. So what's happened now is people all over the nation are accepting kinesiology. When I first started with kinesiology, it was an unknown entity, and people would say to me, kinesiology what? And so I had to sort of explain what the process actually was. Now it's quite understood, and people are searching it out, which is wonderful. So welcome to tonight, and I'm going to begin by just running through what kinesiology is. I'm going to talk about the graduate opportunities. I'm going to mention some case studies along the way. I'm also going to talk about sorry, I've got messages coming up. I am a kinesiologist, but I am actually not a IT guru. So just bear with me for a moment. Share my screen. Okay. Screen sharing. Show my screen. I'm hoping this is working for you now. Okay. Sorry about this, everybody. Can people see my screen now? Great. Sorry about that. As I said, I'm not an IT expert. So I'm going to talk about some case studies. I'm also going to give you a few tips and things that you can take away from today, and hopefully that will be helpful for you as you progress through your lives, even and hopefully if you embark on the Diploma of Kinesiology. The Diploma of Kinesiology, it goes for 13 months. Now that's because we work by school term, and within the school term obviously we have school holidays, public holidays, but we also have some scheduled development days. So what you'll see here in the format is that we have 8 modules, and those 8 modules need to be attended, and you will attend them by coming 2 to 3 days each week. So generally there's only one 3-day block in the module, but you can see that there could be up to 14 days in a module, and that's because we have these development days where you get together with your colleagues, your students, and you practice. And we found in the last course that this is quite beneficial. You'll also notice that there is an expectation of a 1 to 2 day a week commitment to distance study. And that's covering things like nutrition, anatomy and physiology, business studies, pathology, and all of these make up the whole course. So you can see that it is a full-time commitment, and people often say, can they work? Yes, you could work in some part-time capacity, but it is a full-time course. If sometime down the track you do wish to continue on and go on to mind-body medicine, there are an extra 2 modules to do. We do have some courses scheduled for the year, that being in South Australia on the 25th of February, in Queensland, that's the 6th of March, and in Western Australia on the 2nd of May. So depending on where you're viewing this from, you can just take note of those times that we are scheduled to commence at this stage. So I'm hoping that some of you may have an idea what kinesiology is, but it is a holistic complementary therapy. It is working using a particular technique called muscle monitoring. Some people call it muscle testing, and the use of this technique is to be able to find stresses in the body. When there is a stress found in the body through monitoring a particular muscle, whether it be an arm muscle or a leg muscle, then once we've detected the stress, whether it be emotional, psychological, structural, physical, then we can use that muscle monitoring technique to find a way of bringing about change or balance in the body to remove the stress and allow that person to have a much fuller life from that moment on. What you will learn during this course is firstly how to do this muscle monitoring, but then what you'll learn is how to balance the body using various techniques, and these various techniques come from all different places, all different walks of life. So we may do, you will be learning things like neurovascular points, which are points on the head. You might rub neurolymphatic points, which are points on the body. You might do counselling techniques and focusing techniques, sort of as in transpersonal counselling. You might use acupressure points or colour therapy or sound therapy. And as we go through tonight, I'm going to touch on some of these things so that you have a better idea of what's involved in the course. We are offering at this stage only the Diploma of Kinesiology with the option to upgrade. Mind-body medicine, as you can see, is that part of the course which looks at traditional Chinese medicine, and it includes more things around nutrition, acupressure points, and a much deeper understanding of Chinese medicine and illnesses and symptoms and signs. So it's certainly a worthwhile addition. You'll find that the Diploma of Kinesiology does, however, cover quite a bit of traditional Chinese medicine as it stands, because you will learn about elements, the 5 elements, and you will learn about acupressure points and some other Chinese medicine processes. So where did this all begin? It began in around about the mid-1960s with a doctor by the name of George Goodhart. He was a chiropractor, and as he was working with his clients, he discovered that by putting muscles in a certain position, he could detect stresses in the body, which allowed him to do his chiropractic work effectively. He met up with a gentleman by the name of John Thie, who was also a chiropractor, and they worked together for some time and came together and came up with a very succinct and useful muscle monitoring process. In the 1970s, Dr. Goodhart and John Thie did split up, and George Goodhart continued on with applied kinesiology, which even today is used by chiropractors all around the nation, all around the world for that matter. Whereas John Thie decided to develop his own process of working with the lay people. He wanted to take these wonderful techniques out to the everyday mums and dads of the world who were wanting to work with their children who had problems, wanting to work with their friends, even themselves. And so he wrote this process called Touch for Health. And it is for the layperson, and it is the foundation now of a lot of the kinesiology that we learn. We have now the International Kinesiology College in Australia, and it's interesting to know that recently I went to America, and whilst I was in America, I went to a course which was a kinesiology course, and even though Goodhart and Thie originated in America, this groundbreaking work was less than what we teach in our course. So Australia has moved way beyond a lot of other places in the world. We have many different types of kinesiology modalities now, and our Diploma of Kinesiology at IKON is a really fantastic foundation, and you can go out there, you can become a kinesiologist, you can work effectively as a kinesiologist, and if you want to down the track, you can specialise and you can do other courses, hence the idea of maybe being able to do mind-body medicine. But there are other wonderful things available to you once you've completed your Diploma of Kinesiology. So what do we use kinesiology for? Kinesiology is such a brilliant therapy that it can be used to treat a multiple number of symptoms and issues. So here you can see just a small number of them. So it can be structural, so as in neck and back pain. It can be related to stress, so it can have that emotional component, or depression or anxiety, all have that emotional component where it's having physical symptoms develop from that. Fears, phobias, headaches. The interesting thing about headaches is when you begin to learn kinesiology, you discover that headaches aren't just headaches. You can have headaches in various different parts of the head, and they mean different things. And so it becomes quite interesting to understand that, you know, if you have a headache, say, in your forehead, it can be due to the fact that you're thinking too much, or you might feel as though you're lacking support in your life. If you have headaches behind your eyes or the sides of your head or even the very top of your head, this can be related to frustration or anger or just general stress. Even to the point that if you have headaches behind your head, at the back of your head, this can sometimes be to do with fear or control issues or the need to be driven. And so when you learn kinesiology and you discover by muscle monitoring, which I'm going to show you very shortly, when you discover that someone has a headache, there's more to it than just having a headache. We go to a much deeper level so that we can bring about a balance and change and certainly well-being by searching for the core issues. Chronic fatigue and addictions are also really useful. Kinesiology is very useful for those processes as well. I just want to give you a brief case study here where I was using a particular point which I'm going to teach you tonight, and it's a useful point that can be used at any time, any place. In fact, I used it tonight on myself, which I'll tell you about in a moment. But a good example is I was doing a training course at one stage a number of years ago, and I'm sure you've all heard that horrible sound of a car accident when you hear crunching metal. We heard this and we all rushed out from our seats and rushed out to the road, and myself and one of my colleagues were the first two people at the scene of the accident. When I went to the front seat, the driver was absolutely fine. Unfortunately, he just picked up his partner from the hospital after major surgery, and so she had a seatbelt on, and it was surgery on her abdomen, and so the pressure of the seatbelt across her had made her quite uncomfortable and created pain. She also had a young son in the back seat. My colleague took the son to the side of the road, and I stayed with the woman in the front seat. I applied some kinesiology techniques, as I said, one I'm going to show you tonight, and it immediately brought about a sense of relief for her. Firstly, she knew her son was at ease, but she was in quite a bit of discomfort. When I was holding these particular acupressure points, she immediately calmed down. She just found that the discomfort that she was feeling subsided, and by the time the ambulance driver got there and the paramedics got out, they were absolutely amazed with how controlled this woman was, even though they had to take her back to the hospital. But what contributed to that was using a kinesiology technique. And so this is how powerful and how easy it is to be able to use kinesiology anywhere and everywhere. The example I have about tonight is I had a busy day at my clinic, and I had to go away from the clinic, and I had left something at home. I had to come back to the clinic to do this webinar tonight, but I had some training beforehand, and I was sitting at the lights for the second time where I'd had to sit through 3 trains, and then I had to sit through 2 trams going past. I was running late, and I really felt stressed, and I thought, well, this isn't helping me. So what I used is a kinesiology acupressure point, which allowed me to immediately think rationally, calm down, and get through the whole situation. So we can use this stuff anywhere and everywhere. So I did teach you, tell you a moment ago about what kinesiology can treat, but what can it improve? So if we look at kinesiology from the point of view that you can work on an emotional level, you can see that it has an effect on confidence, on relationships, self-esteem, communication. Public speaking, I've found it works very well with public speaking. I have another story, well, I don't have a picture, but I have another story about someone that came to see me who was an excellent speaker when he spoke in front of just everybody he didn't know. But as soon as he spoke in front of his peers, he would just melt into a massive sweat. I went to see him speak once when he was speaking in front of his peers, and this poor man had a light blue shirt on, and by the time he'd finished his speech, his light blue shirt was dark blue with perspiration, but worse still, I was watching him as the perspiration was literally dripping off his nose. So we worked with kinesiology. We did only 2 sessions, and now he is confident and he no longer sweats and has that problem that he had before. You see here that we can improve posture. One of the modules that you will learn about is posture, and how posture can have a huge effect on our body, on how, on our emotions, and even on us physically inside, because we can end up with painful situations purely because of our posture. So you learn a lot about posture as well. Here's another case study for you, and it's an interesting case study because I had a gentleman come in to me who was a golfer, but he was actually a professional golfer, and he came because he had a lack of confidence. He'd been playing very well with his golf, and he'd been accepted in the Japanese tour. He discovered that when he was practicing, he would practice beautifully, had great scores, and his coach thought he was doing really well. But the moment he got out in a tournament, his whole confidence would just collapse. He ended up becoming nervous, and he couldn't quite get there. He was at the stage that he was about to be dropped from that competition, and it was his livelihood. So he was really coming to me about his livelihood. So I worked with kinesiology with him. Once again, I only worked with him for 2 sessions, but this gentleman does come back regularly for catch-ups. He comes at least twice a year. It's not a lot, but at least twice a year. But he changed everything. His posture changed, his confidence changed, his self-esteem improved, and now he's married with 2 children, and he's still on the Japanese tour, and he's doing really well with his life. So you can see how kinesiology can go into all different walks of life. So I'd like to tell you how muscle testing works, because this is the foundation of kinesiology. Kinesiology coming from the word kinesis, which means motion, and that is the fact that we're taking muscles into particular movements. We're taking them from being into a contracted state into an extended state. And the muscle monitoring can give us all the information that we need. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a small clip for you to watch that explains how muscle testing works and gives you a demonstration of it.
Do a demonstration of muscle monitoring now. We can use any muscle of the body, whether it be an arm or a leg. But during a kinesiology session, we mainly use the arms for the ease of doing it. Muscle monitoring is about monitoring the muscle and noticing whether or not there is a stress indicated by the muscle. So when a muscle has a stress, whether it's an emotional stress or a physical stress, it actually will indicate a muscle release. That muscle will not be able to hold strong. So I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing a muscle monitor, one for an emotional stress and one when we put the muscle under a physical stress. So Shannon, I'm just going to take your arm and get you to place it up in front of you. We're going to be working with the anterior deltoid. I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure to your wrist. I want you to meet my pressure. Don't force it, just meet my pressure. Just meet my pressure now. Excellent. So I don't like to take you to a place that's uncomfortable, but if you could just think of something that's stressful for you. Okay, and now try to meet my pressure. Notice how the arm releases. That is showing that there is a stress within the emotional part of the body. I'd like you now to just clear that thought and think of something nice and happy again. I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure once again and meet my pressure. Notice how she's able to hold that arm quite steady and strong again. This time I'm going to do an example of putting the actual muscle under stress. So I'm just going to stress this muscle here, the anterior deltoid that we're working on. Applying the pressure, and you notice how the arm muscle releases. Now I'm going to wait for a few moments to let that arm reset, because the muscle will automatically reset. I'm going to apply pressure once again, just hold against my pressure, and notice how she can hold once again. Now I'm just going to do that one more time with a different way of stressing the muscle. Applying pressure, and once again the arm releases. Wait for a few moments, letting the muscle reset itself, and then just meet my pressure once again. And that's how we do a muscle monitoring.
See, just got to go back to my PowerPoint. Excellent. So what you were seeing with that muscle monitor then was exactly how we work with it in a session. We tend to work in a session with a client lying down more than standing up or sitting, but we can do that. We can have them lying down, sitting or standing if their symptoms don't allow them to lie down. The pressure is quite light, so even though it seemed as though I was applying more pressure, the pressure is very light. We use arm muscles and we use leg muscles, so there's quite a variation, and in the first part of the course you learn how to do this muscle monitoring effectively, and it takes a while to get it quite right, but you can learn it and get it effective. And then you will learn to work with that muscle monitoring on all of the major muscles of the body, so that we can discover where stresses are, because certain muscles in the body relate to certain organs in the body, and sometimes certain meridians in the body. So you can see how it opens up so much opportunity for you to find out information about the body. I'm just going to leave that for a moment and talk about some of the potential opportunities and outcomes that can come from learning kinesiology. I've already told you how kinesiology is becoming quite an accepted therapy now in Australia and across the world. But often people say, well, that's all great, but how do I do it? Where are the opportunities? So one of the best places to begin is probably in a private clinic. I'm showing you at the bottom of the circle at the moment. A private clinic, most kinesiologists will begin working from home. They set aside a room in their house, they don't have overheads, and they can build up their clientele there. It's a very good way of beginning a kinesiology practice. Then they might move to a private clinic where they have their own clinic, and they get referrals from everywhere. And when I say that, I have GPs refer to me, I have chiropractors refer to me, physiotherapists, even psychologists and psychiatrists that have referred to me. So once you become more established, you can actually get these clinics working particularly well. You might choose to have a specific purpose clinic. I know of some people that colleagues and friends of mine that have gone into a couple of different areas specifically. So they've done the foundation course in in kinesiology, and they've gone off and now they're working with sports kinesiology. So they are working particularly with sportsmen. And I know for a fact that a lot of footballers are using kinesiologists these days. I also know of someone who's working in the fertility area, and she is connected with places like Repromed and also acupuncturists or people who specialise in fertility. You might decide to go into an integrated clinic. I am now in an integrated clinic. I've been and had a private clinic. I've worked from home. But I'm now in an integrated clinic, which means I work alongside chiropractor, a massage therapist, and a naturopath. And we all do cross-referring. And we share a receptionist, have our own reception area, and it's a really effective way of working as a kinesiologist because you get a lot of cross-referral. Some people like to go into corporate health. You'll probably know that these days there are people that go into sort of large corporate businesses and do massage, you know, neck and shoulder massages. I do know of some kinesiologists that are going in and showing people in those corporate areas how to relax and reduce stress by using kinesiology. And of course, you can always create your own short coursework. Go off and do just a workshop in something that really interests you. I have a friend that has gone into looking at bullying in schools, and she is now going around to a lot of schools in Adelaide, and she is doing a workshop in the schools using kinesiology for bullying. So there's so much opportunity out there for you. It's just about where do I start and, you know, what do I begin with. So you can see that there is so much choice. I just want to give you a rundown of the module topics so that you have an understanding of what you are embarking on. Module 1 is the Introduction to Kinesiology, and that's where you learn your muscle monitoring techniques. You learn of 17 muscles, that the beginning muscles of the body. You learn how to do short balances. So at the end of that module, you can actually start working on your friends and working very effectively. The second module is the counselling module. Counselling is a really important module. I mean, all of them are, but if you don't know how to speak to your client, how to create rapport with your client, how to listen to your client and really discover what the core issue is, if you're not able to create personal goals for them for the future, then they're going to find that the kinesiology session really won't go anywhere. So we spend a whole module talking and teaching you about how to do all of this stuff, how you can engage your clients and have that rapport created so they feel comfortable with you and know that they are in safe hands. The counselling component also works on your own personal development. What you'll discover throughout this course is that you have your own personal shifts happen. The things that maybe you've buried down deep within you for a long time begin to surface, which is good for you, because anything that is kept down deep within us can eventually create some sort of body symptom down the track. So the counselling component is about your own development, your own personal development, and of course you're going to be working on each other throughout the diploma. So you'll be having balances done on each other as well. So you'll be getting that kinesiology balance as well. Module 3, we are looking at the vibrational healing system. And what I mean by that is we're looking at those acupressure points. The acupressure points being the points that acupuncturists would normally put a needle in. But we learn where these points are and we hold these points. And we learn to hold them to bring about the balance that's needed for the body. And the way this all happens is through learning about all of what the channels of the body, which you may know as meridians, and these channels all relate to organs in the body. And so you learn about all of these channels, where these points are on the channels, and how these channels relate to certain symptoms that we have. So for example, if you are really anxious and nervous, you would find that it's more than likely your stomach channel that is stressed or out of balance. And that's because the stomach channel runs right through the stomach, and that's often where we find we have butterflies, or we feel tense, or we feel stressed, and that's where we hold it. So you will learn all about those channels. You will learn about some of the elements of the body from a Chinese medicine perspective, where you learn about, you know, fire and earth and metal and water and wood, and it brings in the aspects of those elements, being the colour and the emotion that relates to them, and how you can bring about healing by even using those. In Module 4, we do energetic medicine. And in a moment, I'm going to show you some various kinesiology tools that we use in this energetic medicine. So I might leave that module and discuss it when I can show you the pictures in just a moment. Module 5, you go into the dynamic structure. So what this means is we're talking here about how you stand, your posture, how we have primitive reflexes from when we are babies, and we react in a certain way. So if any of you have ever seen a baby that gets startled and they throw their arms back, that is a particular reflex. And sometimes those reflexes stay with us when we should have grown out of them. So we learn ways of reducing the stress on the body because of those reflexes, and getting our body to realign and allow those reflexes to subside the way they're supposed to as we become adults. We also touch on pathology, so understanding symptoms and illnesses. Module 6, we go into nutrition, and we cover nutrition to a point and structure, but we cover nutrition. You will do a distance subject in nutrition, but we also cover it. And the reason for this, it's not to make you a nutritionist or a dietitian, but it's so you understand when you're talking to your client, or if the stress indicates that there is a nutritional imbalance, maybe a mineral imbalance or a vitamin imbalance, then you can discover what is meant by that, and you can help your client. And maybe at that point you need to refer them to a nutritionist, but you have a deep, good understanding of nutrition and the effect that it has on the body. And then Module 7 is clinical conditions. Clinical conditions is where you learn how to pull everything together. Now we put that before brain function, because brain function in Module 8 is learning about neurology, learning about how the brain works, and it gives you a good understanding from a neurological point of view. But in Module 7, we want to know how to pull all of this information that you've learnt together, so that you know when to use counselling techniques or acupressure techniques or vibrational therapy techniques, or whether you just need to look at a person's body and get them to shift and change their way of standing. And you can see at the bottom we have modules 9 and 10. They are the MBM modules, which I'm not going to cover tonight. So chakras, this comes under our energetic medicine. It shows you the chakras, the main chakras of the body, and we go into chakras in quite a bit of depth. You get to understand about the colour of the chakra. You understand what happens with that particular chakra, and you can see the emotions here that relate to that chakra. And so if you look at the base chakra, chakra number 1 at the bottom, it's at the base of the spine. You can see that it affects our adrenal glands. The base chakra, for example, is to do with feeling grounded, feeling supported. It's our strength. And when someone has an imbalance in the base chakra, they can find that they are in that state of fight-flight, that anxious state, or they can feel depressed, or they can feel nervy. They can feel as if they can't make decisions. So we learn about all of these chakras. We learn a lot about the chakras, and we learn balances to be able to bring those chakras into alignment so that the chakras are working effectively as an energy within the body. Here are some of the various kinesiology tools that we work with. You see at the top funny looking forks. These are tuning forks. We teach you 2 different types of tuning forks in the diploma. One is an applied kinesiology tuning fork, which works specifically with the organs of the body. Then we have an elfin harmonic type of tuning fork, which works with the chakras of the body. So you can see that we cover both sides of things. We work on it, our bodies energetically with tuning forks, but we also work with it from a more structural, physiological point of view with the organs of the body. And these tuning forks are quite different in their manufacture and obviously different in their purpose. You can see at the top and the bottom the bush flower essences and the bark flower essences. These are particular essences that are taken internally, and they are energy essences. They work with flowers, and they have been discovered by a person by the name of White for the bush flower essences, and bark, obviously, for the bark flower essences, where they discovered that flowers had a particular essence and could work with particular energies of the body. So essences can be used internally, they can be used on a tuning fork, they can be used directly on the body. We also cover, in a minor way, aromatherapy oils, and they can also be used on the body. You'll see that we talk about crystals. We don't just learn about crystals, that they're pretty looking rocks. You learn about their mineral component. You learn about the way they're structured. You learn about their colour and about the emotions that can be worked, effectively helped by putting those crystals on. And with crystals, you can use them in conjunction with tuning forks and with essences or with aromatherapy oils. So you can see that there's quite a bit of information in that energetic medicine part. Just want to run over another case study with you, and this case study was really about a woman that came to see me because she was feeling particularly stressed after having an altercation, actually, in a dress shop. Without going into too much of the story, when she was in the dress shop, she was assaulted by a woman who was in the dress shop with her. When she was assaulted, she ended up with a broken rib and severe trauma from the whole situation. She is a client that has been coming to me for some time, and she rang me and told me of the situation and was quite traumatized, really upset. So I made some time so that she could come and see me straight away. And because she was actually in pain because of the broken rib, I couldn't physically touch acupressure points or touch her body in any way. But what I did use was energetic medicine, because energetic medicine doesn't necessarily need touch. And I was able to use the energetic medicine and some counselling techniques to relieve the trauma, relieve the stress, and then over a period of time we used kinesiology to knit the broken rib, because obviously it couldn't be mended, it just had to mend itself. We used kinesiology to bring about mending of that broken rib, and even the doctors were amazed at how quickly her ribs mended. So you can see once again a totally different scenario that I was faced with, and because of the diploma there was so much choice. I was able to help her on the day. We do need to set goals, and this is part of the counselling side of things, and we need to work within contexts, which means working and defining what we're going to work on in a kinesiology session. And so this is part of the counselling process, is learning about being able to get your clients to work towards a goal, because often they will come in and they don't know how to get to where they want to get, and it creates a stagnancy in the body. So I'd like to just show you a couple of useful acupressure points, because we are getting close to the end of our time, and I'd like you to go away with some useful acupressure points. And the first one that I'm going to show you is called the emotional stress release. This is actually following the gallbladder channel, and it's the type of acupressure points that you probably already use and you don't even know you're using it. I'm sure there's been times in your life where you've just held your hand across your forehead when you felt a little bit stressed, and it's brought a little bit of comfort to you. These are the points that I held while I was driving back to my clinic tonight, and they immediately relax you. One of the ways that they do relax you is by bringing the blood flow back to the frontal lobes of the brain. And as soon as we bring blood flow to the frontal lobes of the brain, we can think rationally. Often what happens when we're in a state of stress is that the blood flow goes to the back of the brain, to our more limbic system, to our more animalistic part of the brain, the thinking part of the brain, that wants to respond quickly and easily without having to think. And I always put it that if you had to save someone's life who was about to step in front of a car, you don't want to stop and think, now, I wonder if I should step with my left foot or my right foot. I wonder how many cars are coming. I wonder how fast that car is going. You want to just react. So when we are in a state of stress, we are not thinking. The blood flow goes to the back of the head and we act immediately without thinking, which is exactly what we want to do. However, when we're in certain situations where we are just sitting in that state and we need to get out of that state, then these points are valuable points to hold on to. And I'll quickly tell you about this last case study because we are running out of time. But with this particular gentleman, not this picture, obviously, it's someone that is another one of my clients. He had a very traumatic experience. He walked in on his father after his father had suicided. And when he came to see me, he was traumatized, he was depressed, and he wasn't coping with life. So I worked with kinesiology with him, and it was probably over a period of about 2 months that he came, probably every 2 to 3 weeks. And we used that first point that I just showed you, plus a couple of other different points that I don't have time to show you tonight. We immediately were able to release the stress. He was able to release the trauma, and now he is functioning really well. He's having his second child with his wife, and he still comes to see me regularly. In fact, he's coming to see me tomorrow. So he comes to see me regularly, and he calls it his tune-up. So you can see that once you have a client, they don't always leave you. They can continue to come along. I see that Kathy's asked if there are any questions, so please feel free to type in any questions now. I'm going to have to, I'll quickly run through a couple more points, but I won't spend a lot of time on them. And if you have any questions, please just type them in right now. These points here at the back of your head are really great for headaches. They're on both sides of the head, and I'm sure you've held those points and when you've had a headache, because they feel quite sore, and they're really useful points. When you hold these points, hold them for about 10 to 15 minutes to get the most benefit. This point here, the central vessel 6, is great if you've got wind or if you're feeling a little bit constipated. It's also really good for relieving pain, and it's great for any digestive disorders. This is a single point, and you just need to hold that point just below your belly button. This stomach 36 is a universal point. You can see that it's just below the kneecap, just outside of the shin bone. When you find the spot, it will, and you move your foot up and down, you can feel that muscle move. If you rub this point on both legs, it's brilliant for not only the things that are mentioned there, but for asthma, for premenstrual stress, for insomnia, for depression, for nervousness. So you can see it's a really universal point. This is another fantastic point here, and it's easy to find. You can see it quite easily. And just quickly, because we are running out of time, and I've got a couple of questions coming up, so I'll just finish off with this one. This is a brilliant point. Once again, for constipation, it's great for clearing toxins. It's even good for toothaches, and some people use it for their labour, when their labour is delayed. So I'm just going to quickly read one of these questions. Okay, so the question is, do I need to do a certificate for or an introductory course first? The Diploma of Kinesiology is complete. You don't need to do a Cert 4. In fact, the Cert 4 in Kinesiology has been ceased as of this year. So the diploma is the introductory level. You will learn everything that you need to do and know in this course. You do need a diploma level of qualification to be able to get a rebate from health funds. So when you finish your diploma of kinesiology, you will immediately be able to get to a level that you can, as a member of an association such as the AKA, will allow you to have rebates back from health funds. The accreditation with the AKA can begin as a student member, and then when you finish your diploma, you move up to a professional member. Being a member of the AKA is it's a valuable membership because it allows you to get your rebates to begin with, but it also allows you to have connections with other kinesiologists. There are regular yearly conferences to upskill your kinesiology by hearing from all other walks of life. And it also allows you to get cheaper insurance and the right insurance for your practice. And you've got a source of being able to check with people and have a mentor program that is part of the AKA now. As far as who will be my trainers, trainers at IKON are all practicing therapists. So that means, such as myself, I work 2 days a week in my clinic now, and so we bring to you experience, hands-on experience, everyday experience that you can't get out of a textbook. And the importance about that is, yes, you need to know the theory, but we want you to get out there and be able to be a kinesiologist, walk in, start your practice, and feel confident that you can do it. The trainers, I am one of the trainers, and I have other skilled trainers that we have available to us that have years and years of experience. I have another question here. If the diploma is the first step, what qualifications are there beyond? The diploma itself is all you need to have to be a practicing kinesiologist. Our diploma is one of the best diplomas as far as giving you a foundation in a lot of different areas. And it's not just a foundation, I probably should say it's a very thorough insight into a lot of different areas. And it's so we make sure that you learn a lot about the body, and but we give you a taste of lots of different things so that if you decide you want to specialise in an area, then you can go off and do a short course in, say, sports kinesiology, where you might really hone in on learning about how kinesiology is more effective in a sports mindset. Or you might decide to study more in childbirth and learn more about fertility and the hormones and how kinesiology can help to balance the hormones in the body. So there is a lot of scope out there to be able to increase your knowledge, but you don't need to because you'll be a level 2 practitioner when you finish this diploma, which is a very good position to be as a kinesiologist. I think we are out of time, but not sure if there are any other questions. Show you quickly this as I'm running through the last couple of slides. This is a fantastic point for nausea, so it's great to tell your pregnant friends, great for people who have to travel, who might get air sickness or car sickness. I don't have time to tell you about that other case study. Here are the prices for the Diploma of Kinesiology. If you have any questions about vet fee help, please contact our office and speak to one of the our office staff members there. They'll be able to guide you in all the directions there. If you have any questions about the Diploma of Kinesiology, please feel free to ring our office, and I can always get back to you if I'm not available to answer any of your questions as well. So I think we are definitely at our time. if there aren't any other questions, I think it's time for us to all call it a night. And I do hope that we hear from you in the very near future as you all start to enrol in the Diploma of Kinesiology. And thank you so much for attending tonight.